Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Up. Welcome to our Westworld Season 2 Thoughts video. I just finished rewatching the second season of Westworld in anticipation of the third season premiering later tonight, and I'm just going to be sharing my general thoughts on this second season. So yeah, I just finished watching the second season in which we explore a lot more about what it is, what is consciousness, what is a life, what is free will, who deserves to, do robots deserve to have life, and yada yada, all that fun stuff that we love from Westworld. So yeah, the second season starts off after having the first season. The first season being the kind of the journey of the hosts kind of becoming finally starting to make their journey towards being free, and then or waking up, I should say. And then this second season is actually more their journey towards being free, escaping the confines of Westworld and making it to the human world. And not everyone gets to make it to the valley beyond, as Dolores likes to say quite a lot. So yeah, I loved this second season. I loved diving into it. It was a little tough at the time, having such a big gap between the first season and the second season. But that being said, when it initially came out, I remember I definitely wasn't disappointed. And after having just rewatched the second season, binging it over this weekend, I can still say it still wasn't disappointing. Upon rewatching it, it's still fun to kind of explore some of these ideas and themes that you might have missed that they're always talking about and exploring. You might have missed some kind of way that the timelines mixed up, or timelines line up, I should say. And that's one of the things that I just love, that's kind of maybe not 100% unique to Westworld, but the way they can go about it is kind of unique because they have kind of a in-story explanation for why these kind of flashbacks, these very vivid flashbacks that you can edit a little bit, are really happening. And that's because the hosts can actually can relive their memories. So I like that we explore that a lot more through this season through the eyes of Bernard, who starts off the season just confused and not knowing what has happened in the past few weeks since we ended a few weeks in the Westworld universe. The few weeks between the events that ended the first season and what starts in this or the events that happen in the second season. So there's this big gap, or not big gap, but a few week gap that they end up filling in via using Bernard's memory issues, which we learn about why he has those at the very end of the season, or in the season finale. And so I really just enjoy them using that mechanism of Bernard not having control, in a sense, over what he remembers and when he remembers it, and how he kind of lives through those memories and not always sure when is now and when is he living and when it's a memory. So I really enjoyed us exploring that more in the exploring that in the second season, and them exploring, I should say, the use of different timelines in this season. So yeah, because we pretty much start if you really break it down, where you start off the beginning of the first season, like timeline wise, if you're going by like where the most future point in the Westworld universe or world, that when you start the second season, you're right at the beginning, and you kind of see them progressing through the second season while doing all these flashbacks. But that whole thing happens like a day or two. So it's kind of funny that the second season both takes place over only a couple days, but with a lot of flashbacks that show the gap in between. So it's just kind of fun. I just love the way they kind of do that, and where you have to, again, really pay attention when you're watching in order to not miss things. Westworld's one of my favorite shows that you just have to, because you have to just sit and focus, because if you're trying to watch from the other room, you might miss something. You might not know if it's a memory or not. You might be like Bernard and not exactly sure how to keep up with the timelines a little bit, or keep track of which story is going on where. So I really enjoy them. Just really enjoyed that about the show, and so the second season didn't let me down on that. So again, I already mentioned how I really enjoy that they keep diving into this idea of free will, but we also learn a lot more about what is Delos was behind, and kind of what William kind of suggested that got Delos to invest in the Westworld park in the begin with, which is they want to be able to create hosts that can hold human minds, so that human minds can then humans can live forever, in a sense. And so they've been scanning every human that's come to Westworld, and they got all their minds saved somewhere, and so they're trying to work towards that. But we learn again in this season that they haven't found success in being able to put a human mind back. They can copy the human mind and have it live in like virtual reality a little bit, but once they try to put it in to a human brain or into a host body, it doesn't quite click. They go crazy most of the time. We see that with an episode focused around Delos. What was the Delos's name? I'm forgetting now. Delos. I can't remember his first name now. But yeah, we see, a whole episode with William and Delos and exploring this idea of using the host technology, the robotic part of it. Well, not just the robotics, the whole host technology in order, instead of putting host programming in, putting a human brain programming in. And so I was just really enjoying how we explored more of that. We learned more about what Delos was up to, but they left it open enough that there's still little seeds of things that we still want to figure out, particularly like how Williams, the Man in Black's storyline ends in this season. At the very end, he gets a little like post-credit pretty much at the end of the season, where we see him talking to his daughter, who he thought died, who he thought he killed, which he still might have, but then we find out that he's getting tested for fidelity. So it's this interesting thing which they really explore. Fidelity is a word that came up a lot more in this season than even the first season, and that's something I had to look up a few times just to remember exactly what it meant and exactly how they were applying it to this, because it has a few different definitions. And so it's kind of interesting that you could also take a couple of its definitions and apply it to what they're trying to go, but kind of the basis of it is trying to replicate something perfectly, right? Is that the degree to which you can replicate something perfectly. And so I just really enjoyed us exploring that idea, exploring what makes somebody, a person, what makes each human their own unique self, and what's our own programming. And they really break that down through the season, and we explore through each of the characters' point of views on it. We mainly follow with Bernard, who's I'm pretty sure is supposed to be kind of the audience surrogate in a sense, because he's so confused about everything, because his memories are all messed up. We all kind of are following the journey with him, and kind of learning about these and able to form our own opinions along with him about what this is and what it means to be human. Do the humans / do the hosts deserve to live, and how do they deserve to live, and all that fun stuff. And I like that him and Dolores almost have these very conflicting views throughout the season, and then it comes to the end of the season and they end up agreeing. And spoiler alert for the whole season, Bernard was behind it all, and he ended up saving Dolores. And even though he killed Dolores, he did end up saving her too, because it's this fun thing with the host where it's like you can end one of their bodies, but as long as their little sphere thing's intact, they're still alive. You can just pop that thing in another. It's a funny thing, actually. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Altered Carbon in that same stuff, especially when you get to the end of this episode, and the way Dolores escapes is in Tessa Thompson's body, or a host that was made to look like Tessa Thompson's character, Hale in this. And so that just because Altered Carbon was just recently watched, it was fun to kind of make that connection. Obviously they're separate ideas, but it is kind of fun that in that one it's human conscious that they pop into different bodies. In this one, the hosts in a sense can pop themselves into different bodies. And so I just kind of liked exploring that idea at the end of this season, and that kind of leading into the third season being this mystery of okay, now that they're in the world and we've got a couple of them out there, Dolores, we see that Dolores brings Bernard back. We also see, I think in some of the trailers for the third season, that Maeve comes back as well. And so I'm really curious to see who are all the different little spheres she grabbed. So who are all the different hosts that end up being saved, and what capacity we'll see them in the third season. And I'm also just super curious to explore the third season, what's Dolores' plan, how she's going to execute it and go about it, and how Maeve and Bernard, if Bernard's still kicking around, I don't remember seeing him in any of the trailers for season 3, but see how those two kind of are trying to maybe potentially stop her plan to destroy all of humanity, or exactly how it's going to play out. So I'm really excited to get to the third season. Rewatching the second season really got that juices pumping to want to watch it again. I'm really glad I almost waited to the last minute to finish rewatching the second season, because I'm pumped to get to the third season and explore this. But that's all my thoughts on the second season of Westworld. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what you thought of the second season, and be sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up with my thoughts. I'll be releasing videos for season 3, each episode each week as they come out, talking about my thoughts, how it connects into the rest of the show, where we're going, some of my predictions, and all that fun stuff that I like to share in these videos. But yes, thanks again for joining me today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and have a good one.